I wanted to watch something today. I don't know if everyone's going to be into it. It might be a little intense. I found this video. So this guy's like, oh, that's such a good image of him. You might have heard of this guy. People do responses to him a lot. His name is something Tate, or I forget what his full name is. He's like a make money guy. His account is named Tate Speech, which is a really good sign when someone makes their account name a pun off of the phrase hate speech. So yeah, he's like a, rents nice vehicles and take pictures of them. But then, New World Order, it's a lot of like, we live in the Matrix, you have to pull out of the Matrix. But I wanted to watch his video he did called Therapy Ruins You. And now you may not know this, but I'm actually a therapist. So you might say I'm a little bit biased. Yeah. Obviously, you got to put the link to his Hustlers University. That has to be the first thing. You see, this is money in the suitcase. So I'm obviously biased, right? We all know I'm biased. I'm not here to defend therapy. I don't think therapy needs defending. I think, his arguments resonate with a pretty significant number of people. Not the majority of people, but I don't know. A lot of people have negative views about therapy. Usually they don't go as far as to say therapy ruins someone, but a lot of people do have similar criticisms to what he says. So I wanted to just respond and give a therapist's response to this stuff. I haven't watched this video yet. I watched the first 10 seconds and I was like, yeah, that'll be fun. Oh wait, what's at the bottom? Achieve competency with money, women, and fitness. Money, women, and fitness. You have currency, human beings, and an activity. Yeah, money, women, and fitness, right? Those are three similar things. So wait, I wanted to say this before we start. I have some feelings about the word ruin. Oh, check this out. I made a new thing for when I just go off on rants. Oh, fuck, it doesn't. Hold on. So I do that, and then I go back. Nice, perfect. So this, you know how Twitch streamers will do that, where they're like, wait a second. They're like, talk. They're like, wait a second. No. I need all this screen right now. Ruining. Can people be ruined? What does it mean for a person to be ruined? The word ruin 100% implies irreparable damage, something that can't be repaired. We would not say a car is ruined if it can be repaired. We would not say anything is ruined if it can be repaired. So what does it mean for a human being to be ruined? Another question is, will our speaker in this video provide any evidence or proof? Will there be support to back up the claim that a person is irreparably damaged from therapy? I haven't watched it yet. Maybe there's some proof. So as a therapist, I can say therapy doesn't help solve every type of problem, but you know what? I'll just wait for now. Let's just see. But keep that in the back of your mind. Like, what does it mean to ruin someone, and how do we know when someone's ruined? And is he really proving that, or is he making arguments that, I don't know, that therapy doesn't always help or can't solve every problem? Which is, of course, a much less strong claim. But hey, he's a YouTuber. I understand you gotta make it a catchy title. Let's start at the beginning. Hold on. So not only does it say achieve competency with money, women, and fitness, there's no fucking Oxford comma, which really pisses me off. It should be women, comma, and fitness. So put that in the bad column. I have to say, Cobra Tate Life, so his first name is not Cobra, right? That's just a brand. Cobra Tate. I'm wondering who edited this for him. What is that like to edit a footage for this guy? Do you have to agree with all his views, or do you just do it because you need work?
It is detrimental. Not only is it useless, not only is it not science, not only is it bullshit, it actually makes people worse. The worst thing you can do if you have a problem is...
I'll just start by saying his energy is really intense. His eyes look a little glassy. His brow is really furrowed. He just seems like... he seems really stressed. Okay, so let's check. Let's start over. Hold on, I missed what he said. Something about therapy is not science.
It is detrimental. Not only is it useless, not only is it not science...
I like the not science claim. Yeah, I mean, obviously therapy is not science. You learn evidence-based practice in school. That's like the new sort of thing for the last few decades, to try to base your work on evidence. So you base your work on science, and therapy has more and more become a science. It's certainly more of a science than it was 150 years ago, when it basically started as like the talking cure that, Sigmund Freud and like his homies sort of did, and like sort of transitioning from hypnosis to talking and stuff. It's definitely more scientific now than it is then. Like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is supported by scientific evidence. So cognitive behavioral therapy is science. I mean, the practice of it is not science. It's a practical clinical application of it, but it's totally false to say that therapy is not backed up by science. But it's also, if that was the point of his video, I would understand. You could make a lot of arguments to say how therapy should be more supported by evidence. But I just find it interesting that he shoehorns that in there as if anything not supported by science is ruining people. But okay, I'm sorry. I'm talking too much. Let's check it out.
Not only is it bullshit, it actually makes people worse. The worst thing you can do if
Okay, he just sounds really angry. Really angry.
you have a problem is sit and fucking talk about it all day. People say you should.
Well, you don't go to therapy all day. You go like for 1 hour every week, or 2 or 3 or 4. How many hours are in a week? 7 times 24. Oh, Bing, you don't just fucking pull up the answer like Google does? 168 hours in a week. So it's like if you go every week, it's like 0.5% of your time. Well, you have your waking hours. Mr. Tate, when you're making an argument, it helps to be as sort of specific as possible and not make exaggerated claims.
The worst thing you can do if you have a problem is sit and fucking talk about it all day. People say you shouldn't bury your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit.
Someone's straw manning when they address a point and they put on a funny voice for it.
People say you shouldn't bury your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit.
He doesn't even finish the claim. He can't even do the if-then statement. He's too lazy to even straw man the argument because he just makes a funny voice and then doesn't make the argument. So the claim that he's trying to make is that people say that if you bury and repress your problems, that causes worse consequences than facing them. That would be the claim. We didn't get him explicating that, unfortunately.
Shit.
Who's the other guy?
That's bullshit.
No, seriously, who's the other guy? They're not both him, right? Please tell me those are not both him. Oh my god, are they both him? Or does he just have an identical twin?
Welcome back.
Oh, that's where the cobra comes from. Look at his tattoo.
To the best, most underrated,
Yeah, I agree about the advertising. Is he about to say undersubscribed?
subscribed to.
Oh my god, that is sad. I've never heard someone say that about their own channel.
On the internet. Take speech. I'm here.
Okay, I guess he's trying to be funny when he says undersubscribed. It's not my style of comedy, but he is like slightly being ironic.
A coffee, chilling. And today we're going to talk about therapy. Because I
Thanks for keeping in the sip, buddy.
have a gripe with therapy.
Yes, you do.
And if you've been watching my channel for long
Okay,
enough,
wait, hold on. Everybody make your guesses. Make your guesses. Is he going to talk about his own experience with therapy? I'm pretty sure he is. Like, to make this video have any thrust to it, I think he is going to talk about it. What's therapy? That's a good question, Wacky Jim. I think we might make some progress figuring it out here.
you know that I have a gripe with many things, and I'm always right. I'm eternally correct. If I have a gripe with something, then that something is in trouble because
I understand being like this. I don't understand his audience thinking this is masculine or cool. Like, because if you're being ironic, it's funny, but if you're even partially not being ironic, it's not. It's just like kind of sad.
my logic is infallible, and I have a genuine problem with therapy as a whole.
You know it's going to be a good argument when people start by saying that they fundamentally can't be incorrect.
So let's start from the beginning. What is therapy? Well, therapy.
Oh!
So let's start from the beginning. What is therapy? Well, therapy is the idea that you need to go through life crying about the bad things that have happened to you.
He said the thing. Wait, what did he just say? Therapy is an idea?
Therapy is the idea that you need to go through life crying about the bad things that have happened to you.
Look, my biggest problem with people is when they straw man so heavily. It's like, it's kind of sad. Like, therapy is not an idea. First of all, therapy is not an idea. It's a like a sort of, you could say, like a social institution, or like a process, or like a relationship between two people, or um, but and then obviously it's not about crying about bad things that happen to you. I have people who come to me for therapy, and it's not about bad things happening to them. That's one type of therapy. Yeah, he answered the channel name. Yeah.
Therapy is the idea that you need to go through life crying about the bad things that have happened to you to some other mortal being as if they are God. And
What? To some other mortal being as if they're God? So anybody who has a healthy relationship with therapy treats their therapist like a normal person. And a big reason that is, and I say this as someone who goes to therapy too, your therapist is gonna mess up sometimes. They're not gonna ask the right questions, they're not gonna make the right interpretation. That shit happens. Like, so anyone who goes to therapy knows that their therapist is not a god.
who's no better than you, and sit there and go, oh, this happened, that happened.
Okay, I'm not gonna accent shame, but why does his accent feel fake?
And sit there and bitch about it. And that somehow this inaction is going to improve your life.
So I'm sure this will be a main thesis of the video, that therapy is inaction. It's just talking. Now, anyone who's been to therapy knows immediately that that's absurd. And if your therapist ever treats you in that way, where they don't focus on how to actually like act in ways to make your life better, they're doing a really bad job. Obviously, you go to therapy to figure out how to make your life better, or to make your life better in general. Talking about your stuff can often help you reflect and figure out what you want to change in your life. But I don't really know that my clients benefit just from the talking. They benefit from the talking and then the ways that they make changes in their lives.
This Tate speech is going to have a lot of different elements to it because my problems with therapy are varied.
Yeah.
But one of my
one might say they're even incoherent.
largest problems with therapy is that it's an antithesis to my worldview.
The word is antithesis, by the way.
My worldview is that action always wins.
And the assumption here is that therapy is inactive. There's been no evidence to support that. Like, if you go meet with like a nutritionist or something, you're not like changing your eating habits like physically while you're there. You're like learning things, and then you change your eating habits later. Is that inaction when you're at the nutritionist because you're not changing your eating habits?
Momentum, speed, power, forward, forward, forward. Anyone who's done business with me knows the first thing I say is, okay, good idea. How quickly is it done? The sooner it's done, the sooner it makes money. If it takes 2 days instead of 1 day, that's one extra day we've lost we can never make money during. You want to be a millionaire, do things quickly. Action wins. Therapy is not action. Therapy is sitting and crying and complaining. Talk is not action. A fucking chit chat isn't action. Is it, G?
Just to be clear, talking is an action. Okay, talking is not like other forms of action, but talking is more active than thinking, certainly.
No, G knows. Action is doing something. If you feel depressed, G, you're gonna spill my fucking coffee and you're ruining my Tate speech. Piss off.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to that. I'm not gonna go ahead and say he's abusing his dog. I'm gonna say that that's not a healthy way to treat an animal. And but he's a man of action. So yeah.
Is it G? No, G knows. Action is doing something. If you feel depressed, G, you're gonna spill my fucking coffee and you're ruining my Tate speech. Piss off. If you feel depressed, you go to the gym. You do something. You don't sit and cry about it.
You go to the gym for how long, though? You can't spend all day at the gym. Exercise is a fantastic way to make yourself feel better physically and mentally. Absolutely. It's just part of the day.
Oh, I feel depressed. Let's go sit and have a talk. Words don't count as action, not in the harsh realm of reality.
Words are not action, but when you say words, you're actually doing an action. And when you talk about your depression, you can figure stuff out like, gosh, I want to go exercise, but I can't get myself to do it. I literally can't get myself to do it. Yeah, like depression, it's caused by so many different things. And like when you talk about your feelings, you can sometimes figure out what's holding you back.
So that's one of the first problems I have with therapy.
That's a really good point. His channel is called Tate Speech, not Tate Action.
The second problem I have with therapy is therapists don't want you to get better. Therapists want little piles of goo they can poke at, little weak individuals they can just poke at and ask stupid questions to. We're going to pay an hourly rate forever.
Even with all his opinions, the degree of anger is totally unjustified and really bizarre. Just to be, is he going to say, wait, let him finish the point.
It's not in their business model to improve your life.
Right. I haven't even seen this. I knew he was about to say that. I don't know any therapist that is like in desperate need of clients. Maybe like as soon as you start up a private practice, depending if you don't have connections in the area you live or something, it might take a while to get up to a full caseload, but most therapists have long waiting lists. Some therapists have like really long waiting lists. It's actually hard for people to find therapists because people go to therapy for an extended period of time. This is just a totally, yeah, there's definitely a therapist shortage. Because we'll probably get to this, but like therapy can be really beneficial to people for like, it doesn't have to be like you need it. Sometimes it's just like going to the dentist for like a checkup or something, but it's a little bit different because it's your mental health. So maybe you go more frequently. But it doesn't have to be like, oh, I need it or else I won't be able to live. It can just be like, oh, this helps me reflect and enhance my life. Yeah, I like to compare going to therapy to going to a dentist because it's just another type of professional. So yeah, I mean, this business point, it's just the tackiest thing to claim. And just, I'm, whatever. You can say I'm lying or I'm biased or something, but I promise you, like, therapists do not need, like, to string their clients along. There are so many people who need therapy.
It doesn't make any sense. They just want to sit there and let you just talk shit as long as it takes. What's crazy about this is...
What's interesting is he doesn't feel the need to support any of his points. Like, he doesn't feel the need to even give an argument. Like, okay, I guess he's giving an argument about the money thing, but he doesn't feel the need to support it at all. And this idea that, like, therapists are content to just sit and let you talk. I mean, has he looked up anything about how therapy works? About the different types of therapy? And there are like very, very intervention heavy, like conversation heavy styles of therapy. Sometimes I meet with people and I'm mostly listening, but I was thinking about this the other day because I was kind of tired. So I was reflecting on how I was tired because like the appointments I had that day were like ones that required like much more engagement, where like there's not extended periods of me listening. And yeah, that's a little bit more draining when I'm constantly talking, like for sure. But some people want that. It's like some people want it to be a lot more conversational. Other people totally will talk for minutes. And I kind of do that when I go to therapy. I talk for fucking minutes because I'm just used to like doing that. Like I don't always like that about myself, but I do that because I'm working through my problems and it helps. Even if my therapist doesn't give me some magic solution to my problems, it helps jog my brain about a bunch of stuff.
How can you go and sit in front of a therapist and not cross your mind that this therapist has a bullshit life anyway?
Okay, this is a good one.
All these therapists are getting divorces and cheating on their fucking wives.
Okay, is he... There's so many arguments that are blended together. If you're going to a therapist for like anger management issues and your therapist like has an anger problem that's not under control, that's not a good therapist, and they should work on that before they continue practicing. But this idea that people get divorced, which divorce is not a bad thing, to be clear. Divorce is a good thing. If it happens, it needs to happen. But, like, so is he saying that you should only go to people who have never been divorced? And what was the other one?
Anyway, this therapist has a bullshit life anyway. All these therapists are...
Oh, that was a big cut.
getting divorces and cheating on their fucking wives.
So, oh yeah, this is the thing I meant to say. On their wives? Is that him being like very like gay positive? Because most therapists are women. Maybe he's just super gay positive. That's good. I didn't expect it from him, but good for him. He's not obviously making any argument that therapists have life problems more than other people. He's just saying they have life problems, so why would you listen to them? the end conclusion of this logic is that you shouldn't listen to anyone because everybody has life problems.
And are just as depressed as you. So why the fuck do you think they know anything? If therapists understand psychology so well, why are they not all living these perfect, ideal lives? Well, they're not, because they don't know shit.
The idea that understanding psychology would make you live an ideal life is very strange. Because what is an ideal life in general? Don't people have different ideal lives? My ideal life would not be running Hustlers University 2.0 and having a bunch of men who pay a bunch of money to like listen to me and meet up with me and stuff. But that's his ideal life, and that's really good. He's living his ideal life, I assume. I could help someone a lot, and we could have a really good therapeutic relationship, and they could be doing hard work in therapy, and their life could get worse. Obviously. I can't control if they get fired from their job. They can't control that sometimes, often. People don't always, it's like your mental health getting better does not make your life all around better in every aspect, but it can make it easier for you to have the thoughts and feelings of the type that you need and want to be able to face your life and make your life as good as it can possibly be. Therapy can't make loved ones around you treat you better, but it can make you be better at asserting boundaries, potentially. Therapy can't make you find your dream job, but it can maybe help you get organized to take the steps necessary to make that as likely as possible.
And I say this to and we're going to get onto my story about therapists. When I said this to therapists, they go, oh, we don't claim to be perfect. Well, if you don't claim to be perfect, then what you know doesn't mean shit. If you're telling me that your own knowledge cannot be applied to yourself to provide yourself with the perfect life, then you can...
I mean, it's just, his argument hinges on the word perfect. His argument hinges entirely on the word perfect.
Not provide anyone else with a perfect life. Therefore, who gives...
No one's ever claimed that therapy would help you have a perfect life, so he's arguing with a claim that doesn't exist.
gives a fuck what you think? You're an idiot. The idea that therapy is somehow necessary or mandatory is just new age Western garbage.
I would never say that therapy is necessary or mandatory. I would say it's as necessary and mandatory as going to the dentist. You know, it's like you don't have to. And you know, in my opinion, I don't see any reason why someone shouldn't try therapy at least once in their life. But to really try it, sometimes you do need to try a few therapists because you never know. You might not get a great one the first time. I just want to be clear. This man is not happy. You don't talk like this when you're happy. And he's not confident in his arguments in any rational way because you don't have to put this much emotion into it if you're confident in your arguments.
Therefore, who gives a fuck what you think?
Like, that's way too angry.
You're an idiot. The idea that therapy is somehow necessary or mandatory is just new age Western garbage. I actually watched a really interesting documentary.
I'm sorry, does the accent come and go or what?
About a girl in the 1970s who was in a plane crash in Brazil, I think it was, somewhere in South America.
He even sounds angry when he's talking about this.
The plane crashed and everyone died except for her. And when she woke up, the plane crashed, she was knocked out. She woke up, still in the seat, next to her decapitated mother and dead bodies all around her. She got up, she foraged for food, she had some cuts and bruises, one of them got an infection. For 4 days, she was surviving the jungle before she was succumbing to the fever she had from the infection. She laid down ready to die and got found by some local people, which nursed her back to health. She ended up going back to Germany. She was a German girl. And they said, well, what happened afterwards? She goes, well, I went to Germany, and my dad obviously thought I was dead, but I wasn't, so he told me to get a job, and I got a job, and that's it. Carried on with life. And literally they asked her, well, didn't you go to therapy? She saw her decapitated mother next to her after a fucking plane crash. And her reply was, no, in those days we didn't do therapy.
So before we learn what Mr. Cobra interprets from that story, I guess I'll give you my interpretation. Everybody responds to traumatic stress differently. He's acknowledging that it was very stressful, and he's saying that she dealt with that stress effectively, not by talking about it or feeling about it, but by going on with life. And that's supposed to imply that no matter what we go through, even in this type of extreme experience, The best plan is to just move forward with your life. Such an anecdotal bit of evidence, but I didn't comment on that because I feel like at least he's giving some form of evidence for the first time. So let's see what he has to say about this experience. I'm sure he gets a lot of certainty from it.
She just carried on with life. Now you're telling me that she can carry on with life and get on with things after seeing her decapitated mother.
Should we look up this woman? Susan Penhaligon, British actress, writer, known for... I'm sorry, is this the right person? Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's the actor. I'm sorry, guys. Julianne Kopsicki. Okay, so here she is, lone survivor of the plane crash. Personal life, let's see. Oh, wow, she had a perfect mental health. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't say that. Do we know whether she woke up with nightmares for decades? Do we know whether she, could go on a plane again? Do we know whether she was, hyper-vigilant in a way that, PTSD therapy would have helped? Do we know whether if someone had gone through that and gone to therapy, they would have had a happier life, be more well-adjusted? It seems like she could have turned out fine. That's great. But there's just no control group.
She just carried on with life. Now you're telling me that she can carry on with life and get on with things after seeing her decapitated mother, after fucking nearly dying from some jungle fever bullshit. But you need therapy because people say mean words to you on the fucking internet?
Wait, excuse me? Was that a self-call-out, or... I've worked with hundreds of clients. I've literally never worked with someone whose reason to go to therapy was that they were being cyberbullied. But it's very interesting that he would use that as his point.
You're a pussy.
Yes, sir.
The thing with all this new age shit is that some things should be universal across the human condition. If therapy was so necessary, it would have been necessary forever. Okay,
so again, no one's making the argument that therapy is necessary. I also don't think that assumption is valid at all, Mr. Cobra. I don't think that something needs to be universally applicable for it to be useful. Let's just walk.
The fact that it wasn't necessary before and is now necessary means it's new think, new age, and you've been conditioned to believe that you need it. People survived with...
Therapy has been around for almost 200 years, to be clear.
Without it for a very, very long time. Therapy is not necessary.
Yeah, dude, people got around a long time without fucking, white t-shirts and shit.
That bitch from Germany in the plane has been through more...
Oh my god, he just called her a bitch? Wow. You're gonna use someone for your fucking video and use their suffering and their trauma? And, you're gonna be agreeing with them and then you're gonna call them a bitch? Wow, dude. In his flawed idea, that woman is on his side. But he still needs to use a degrading word to talk about her.
More shit than you will ever go through. More shit than I...
Just to be clear, there are people who maybe haven't been in a plane crash and been alone on an island, but they've gone through comparable trauma, probably in every single town in the US or the UK. There's people who have suffered horrible trauma. We don't like to think about it.
I've ever been through. And she didn't need fucking therapy, so why do you need therapy? Because you're a pussy.
But she didn't say she didn't need therapy, just to be clear. He never said that. Okay, I'm gonna go to the me screen for a second. Oh, that was a break screen. Sorry about that. He never made the point that she didn't need therapy. He made the point that she didn't go to therapy. Okay, let's go back. What does it mean to need something anyways? Does it mean you die without it? I need water, right? I make this point in one of my videos. I need water, right? But do I need water right now? If I don't need water right now, does that mean I don't need water? What does it mean to need something? And okay, this is what I predicted. He's not arguing that therapy ruins you. We have half the video left. He's arguing that therapy is not necessary, which is a totally different argument. And obviously he's not providing sufficient evidence.
Now, I've actually sat across from therapists 3 distinct times.
Oh, okay, yeah.
3 individual times I have been forced to attend some psychoanalyst bullshit.
Oh, well, there's a story there. I wonder how he was forced to do it. For obvious reasons, when you are forced to go to therapy, not out of your own will, you have less chance of having a positive result. Still a pretty good chance. And I have clients who started therapy because their wife said they should or something and they didn't really want to, and sometimes they still get a lot out of it. But yeah, no, obviously it's very true that if you don't go to therapy of your own volition, you might get less out of it. That's maybe a difference between therapy and dentistry. You can still get the same amount out of dentistry if you didn't go of your own volition. But therapy, yeah, if you didn't go of your own volition, yeah, that makes it like you're not invested and you don't have that investment that's required to do the work, to make improvements in your life.
I'm going to tell you what happened. So for these 3 times I had to see a psychoanalyst were all for TV shows. I've been on a variety of reality TV shows.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a very different thing. I did not predict that.
Genuinely 8 of you. Genuinely 8 of you are the piss taking. I'm telling you, I'm telling you what I've seen. From what I've seen, 8 of you. Snakes, snakes. Not arguing with someone to their face and slagging them off to the diary room.
He seems like a really good guy to have on a reality show. Like I'm not even joking. Like if you want to have a reality show where people are like belligerent and like he kind of like oozes drama.
And they make you go and see a psychologist to ensure you're not going to kill anyone else or kill yourself or anything weird when you're on TV. So I'm sitting in front of this psychologist. I sit down, he goes, oh, hi, what's your name? I'm talking to him. We're having a little bit of a chit chat. And then I said to him, he asked me, oh, why'd you become a kickboxer? Thinks he's fucking smart, Mr.
What an absurd question. He asked me why I went into the field of work that I was in. He thinks he's some fucking smart ass. Asking me why I went into the field of work I went into? What kind of a question is that? What motivated me to pursue the path I'm on? How fucking dare you? I'm supposed to understand my motivations and communicate them to you? You're gonna ask me why? What does why even mean? I think he's saying like when reality shows fuck with people's minds so much that for liability reasons, I think they have to have therapists. So at first I thought he was going to be talking about like a show where like you talking to the therapist is like part of it. Like they cut to it. It's like part of the reality show. It's like blah, blah, blah. But it sounds like it was just like a liability thing that I'm sure shows do that. Like, yeah, he said they want to make sure you're not depressed or going to self-harm or something because of all the shit they put you through on a reality show. So this is not the normal way people see a therapist. Most people don't see a therapist as a function of their participation in a reality show.
Pen and paper. Why'd you become a kickboxer? Violent tendencies, he likes to appear masculine. Fuck knows what he was writing down. Some gay, stupid shit.
Yeah, right. You don't know what he was writing down. He might have been writing down what your reasons to become a kickboxer were.
Why did you become a kickboxer?
And did he just use the word gay?
That's what he was writing down. Some gay, stupid shit.
Yeah, he's using gay as a negative. I thought you were an ally, Cobra. Because he said the thing about therapists cheating on their wives, and most therapists are women, so I thought you were an ally. He does not know what the therapist was writing down. The therapist asked him why he went into a relatively interesting line of work. A kickboxer? That's an interesting line of work. I mean, everything is interesting, but that's like different and stuff.
Why did you become a kickboxer? So why'd you become a therapist?
That's a great question. I've had people ask me why I became a therapist. Sometimes in my first appointment with someone, I like to, at the end of it, I say, so do you have any questions for me? Because I've asked you a bunch of questions. And I've done that with many clients because it's a nice thing to do. You open yourself up, you show you're not defensive, you let them, just sort of call the shots for a little bit, them ask the questions, and you sort of, you let them, and people usually do have questions. I've gotten all kinds of questions. I've gotten, do you have any pets? I've gotten definitely, why did you go into therapy? And I think that's a really good, if the clients ask what's therapy, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out. So yeah, I've had people ask me why I went into therapy. I think that's a very good question, and I'm always happy to talk about that with clients. Of course, that's a totally fair question to ask your therapist.
He goes, oh, I really found it interesting. I said, yeah, but it's not science, is it? And he goes, well, why do you say that? I say, well, 1 + 1 is always 2. But with an alcoholic, you can have a person whose father was an alcoholic, so they're an alcoholic. You can have a person whose father was an alcoholic, so they don't drink alcohol at all. People can be in the same situation, have very different outcomes.
Aww, our Cobra friend doesn't like when things are complicated. So when he gives an example of a science, he gives arithmetic.
Depending on who they are as an individual. So it's not science because it's not exact. The whole
That's not what defines a science. It's not that it has to be exact, it's that there's a method of study. And people study the effectiveness of therapy, or he's giving an example of alcoholism. So you think scientists don't study alcoholism, Cobra?
The point of science is that you can predict the future. For something to be science, for something to be exact, you have to be able to predict the future with it.
Right. And we can predict the course of alcoholism given different interventions, not with perfect certainty, but with better certainty.
1 + 1 is 2, which means if I take 1 and 1 and put them together.
It's the same reason people like go to rehab when they're alcoholics, because it's better than like continuing to drink alcohol or living in, I don't know, a fucking place with your friends where you're just getting fucked up all the time, or go to rehab and talk about your problems and like which is more likely to have good results. I can predict the future, I think, in that regard.
Together again, it will be 2 again in the future. This is how we can put rockets into space, because we can predict, we can see where the planet's going to be. We know where to put the satellites. We can work things out. You can predict the future with a science. You can't predict the future with psychology. You can't sit there and psychoanalyze someone and tell me what I'm going to do. You can't.
It's bizarre. I mean, this is just a bizarre argument. So he literally has a problem with the fact that therapists are not God. I mean, it's what he said early in the video, and he's coming back to it. The idea that you can predict is not the same as predicting with exact measurements. Predicting can be a matter of probability. And just to use OCD as an example, it's amazing. Most people don't know this. First of all, intrusive thoughts, if you haven't watched my video about intrusive thoughts are way, 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 way more common than people think. Hugely common. I won't go into it too much now. The people with OCD are the ones who react differently to the intrusive thoughts, and that causes a different phenomenon. The intrusive thoughts take on a different severity and frequency. And that's what we call OCD, and there's compulsions, and there's a lot else involved. But science has studied the treatment of OCD, and this is only in the last few decades. People came up with exposure and response prevention, which is a modality for treating OCD. It's extremely effective. People who go through this modality actually have their symptoms go into remission. So they might still have intrusive thoughts, but it's not at the OCD level. It's like way, way, way more manageable. So science can predict that this treatment modality, this form of therapy, is effective in dealing with people's problems. Why is it important for a therapist to predict what a fucking client is going to do? You just need to be able to predict that therapy can help people. You don't need to predict what the people are going to do.
You can't stop me throwing this cup of coffee in your face. You can't stop me.
So now his argument is not even that you can't predict, but that you can't stop other people's bad behavior. And he has not even come close to proving that therapy ruins people. He actually hasn't even addressed it.
You do shit, you don't know anything. So it's not science. And he sat there and he thought, this motherfucker's smarter than I expected. And
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he was thinking, Cobra.
he waited for a few seconds and goes, oh, well, it's not exact, but
The therapist was probably thinking, okay, I mean, what do I say to get through to this guy?
there are some very general rules. And that was his answer. Now,
I'm sure he's going to address that.
psychologists do this a lot. Psychologists, therapists, etc. They give stupid-ass answers. And because 99% of people are stupid, they get away with it.
He thinks 99% of people are stupid? So 155,000 people watch this. Are they just all the not stupid ones? Or, I mean, that's really misanthropic. That's really negative and not, a cool way to see people. Also, Twitch. We just hit 200 followers. Let's fucking go. Oh, by the way, I was thinking, he said that he talked to 3 therapists before. Did he say that all 3 were with the reality shows?
3 individual times I have been forced to attend some psychoanalyst bullshit. I'm going to tell you what happened. So for these 3 times I had to see a psychoanalyst were all for TV shows. I've been on
All 3 of the times, 100% of this man's experience with therapy, with the thing he's talking about, is on reality shows. 100% of his experience is on reality shows, and he's supposed to be unplugging us from the matrix. He's supposed to know reality, and he's only experienced the reality of what he's talking about on a fucking reality show. Bro.
Psychologists do this a lot. Psychologists, therapists, etc. They give stupid-ass answers. And because 99% of people are stupid, they get away with it.
He doesn't like that the therapist's answer to him saying therapy is not a science because it can't predict the future is that there are general rules. Because Cobra doesn't take the time to think, oh, like, what does he mean by general rules? He's just not incentivized to try to think about that type of stuff. So he instead will just interpret it in the least charitable and least correct way possible, which is to say that it's just a vague, non-sentence. Also, what is this therapist supposed to try to do with a client like this? You're meeting with someone on the set of a reality show because you're hired to make sure they're okay, and you have a belligerent person who's acting the same way they do on the reality show, and you know that they don't want to talk to you. So yeah, you're not going to try to convince them to talk to you. You can't. You literally can't. You could just be neutral. Also, because if you try to convince this guy to talk to you, he's just going to trust you less.
There's some general rules. I said, oh, there's some general rules. Then why are we speaking, friend? Because I'm not a general individual.
But you drink coffee, you sit in an apartment, you sit on a chair, you wear shirts, you use microphones, you shave your head, you talk in English. You do a lot of things like most people, Cobra.
General rules, by your own description, general rule means it must apply to people in general. It must apply to the masses. It must apply to normal people.
Right, that's totally what he was saying, Cobra. Yeah, you're not misinterpreting him at all. When he said general rules of how therapy works, he meant that they only apply to the 99%, not to special snowflakes like you.
It's the average of the bell curve. I'm an exceptional individual. I'm a 4-time kickboxing world champion with a genius IQ. I've made more money than you will ever make. I've done things you could never do. I'm smarter than you are.
Wow. So anyone watching this, like this guy's video, now has to pass through that and still think he's cool.
So why are you talking to me? All of your general rules do not apply to exceptional people. Otherwise, they'd be rules for the exceptions. You just said general rules. You have just admitted you are not qualified to interview me.
This is some real debate bro shit. Like, a person's exceptional accomplishments doesn't have bearing on whether their mental health might follow general rules.
Is it true or false? True or fucking false? He just admitted general rules for general idiots. You're clearly above everyone, Andrew Tate. You're the Lord of Earth, so I don't know shit about you.
I don't actually think he's joking when he says Lord of Earth. I mean, he's exaggerating for effect, but I think the video I just watched that referenced this video and made me want to watch it, I think it mentioned that he actually does go by Lord to his audience. And he thinks he just proved a point. Even if his premises were true, that he's an exceptional person, that has no bearing. I mean, he probably still goes to the doctor, right? And he doesn't think that his mental health, his mind, his emotions, his feelings, his thoughts, he doesn't think that plays by any general rules because he's a good kickboxer.
So he sits there with his pen, doesn't know what to say because I'm correct, and just...
Yeah. He doesn't know what to say because I'm correct.
starts writing things down.
If the therapist on this reality show was a good professional and took their job seriously, he's probably writing down aggressive, he's probably writing down like reactive, emotionally labile. Like he's probably just writing down like, like stuff that he can, self-absorbed, assuming that Cobra is relating this conversation accurately. So assuming the therapist takes their job seriously, they're probably like, he's a guy on a reality show. He's probably okay. We don't have to worry about him liability-wise or anything.
So he's writing things down, and eventually I got tired of him writing things down, so I stood up really quick. And as I stood up, he shat himself and dropped his pen. I stood up and he went and dropped his pen. These are your masters. These are the therapists you worship. These are your lords.
Did he just say these are your lords? I don't know how seriously to take the him calling himself Lord thing. I don't want to go through all his stuff and try to figure out whether he's being 100% serious, 80%, 50%, 20%. Most people wouldn't do that even as a joke. But it really is notable how much he's talked about that therapists are not lords and they're not gods. because I think it really speaks to that's what he expects from people and from himself. He clearly has an over-idealized version of himself. I'm sure it's from a lack of introspection and a lack of self-awareness of the ways he might come up short and he might need to improve in his humanity and his approach to others. He clearly focuses on these traits of himself that he's built up to be miraculous and special. And when you see stuff like this, him saying therapists are not your lords because this guy dropped his pen when I stood up after saying a lot of aggressive things to him in probably a small room, that's what the therapist is supposed to do. Guess what? Some clients actually are violent. A very, very small percent. I have never dealt with it, but it happens. Like, it would be entirely reasonable if everything Cobra just told us is correct. It would be entirely reasonable for the therapist to be a little bit concerned that he was going to get assaulted. Just a little.
These are your masters.
No, your therapist is not your master. They're not your guru. They're not your boss. They're someone like a dentist that you hire to help you with a problem. It's just that the mind and the body, like, we have problems in our mind just like we have problems in our body. So, but yeah, he's proving that therapists are not lords instead of proving that therapy ruins us.
When I stand up, he shits himself. Don't hurt me like a fucking pussy.
But his only observation was that the therapist dropped their pen. To be clear, like, he genuinely doesn't seem capable of, like, self-regulating his emotional expression. Like, he is more angry in this video than he should be. And it could be acting for YouTube for sure, but, like, I think it's fair to assume that he might come off like this a lot. It's probably his act. Like, he's always just, he's got that aggressive energy, and, like, that's something a therapist would pick up on and be like a little bit like, you know, I'm sure the therapist didn't think he was going to actually get assaulted. I'm sure the therapist was just thinking like, whoa, if your client stands up abruptly in the middle of an appointment, you're going to stop writing down whatever you're writing down. That whatever you're writing down is less important than the fact that your client is about to leave the appointment. Isn't his business model also just chit-chatting? Yeah, Bessie, I mean, it's worth noting, we looked at the comments and a few of the people said that he's their therapist. That's not something that you would automatically get as a comment on a YouTube video criticizing therapy. I think that's something that he gets more because he does try to play that role. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying about the Lord thing. He views therapist as his enemy because, or his antithesis. He literally said he pronounced it wrong, but he said therapists are the antithesis of his whole ideology. He didn't call it an ideology. And that's because he wants to tell people what to do, so he projects onto therapists that therapists want to tell people what to do, want to control people, want to be their master, want to be their lord. He's projecting that. He's saying they're not qualified to do that. That's not obviously not what they want to be doing anyways. Of course they're not qualified to be anyone's lord. And unfortunately, it's all with the implication that he is.
Therapist? I just looked at him. He had genuine shame in his eyes. He knew he fucked up. Him and I know. I guarantee I changed the trajectory of his career for the rest of his life. He will
Wow.
never forget the day he met Andrew Tate. Not only did he get out-argued, not only did he get embarrassed, but he felt shame when he dropped his pen. And I said,
so you have an initial appointment with a client who is an actor on a reality show, a kickboxer acting on a reality show. You have your first and presumably only appointment with them, because he said 3 different therapists, 3 times. The client is aggressive, doesn't want to be in therapy, gets up and leaves, and you think the therapist is questioning their profession? I'm pretty sure most therapists would be like, yeah, that's kind of what I expected when I agreed to work for a reality show.
his pen was on the floor. I said, you dropped your pen.
Oh, okay, the pen did hit the floor. Oh, and then everybody clapped.
I walked out the room. He didn't call me back. He didn't want to see me again.
He didn't call you back. He didn't want to see you again. Well, that means you won. That means you won.
Saw that report.
Did he just say, I never saw that report?
He didn't call me back. He didn't want to see me again. I never saw that report.
Did you ask for the case notes from that session? I mean, he probably, because of the laws, he probably could have seen his case notes if he asked. I mean, it was probably an initial assessment. I mean, there's no treatment plan. You're not coming up with a treatment plan when you're working on a reality show.
I don't know what he wrote down.
Did you ask?
And I'm sure he made up a whole bunch of shit.
Did you ask?
Aggressive, this, that.
Oh, you think you're aggressive, Cobra?
Trying to like make himself feel better by writing bad things on the piece of paper. But the
Yeah, I'm sure that happened.
reality is he could not defend his own profession.
Is the therapist in the room with us right now?
And in the harsh reality of the world, he
The reality show I was on.
shat himself. Now, why did he shit himself? I'll
He dropped a pen.
tell you why. Because when I said it
Because I stepped up aggressively, abruptly after fighting with him about his profession.
at the beginning of this video, action versus inaction. Therapists live in a world of inaction.
So this video is inaction. He's not acting right now when he makes this video. He's just sitting and talking. It's inaction. It gets nothing done.
To sit and chit-chat and talk and discuss. Maybe, tell me when you were 12, that time you had that orange juice, like, who gives a shit?
Man, he really does not know what's therapy.
Shit. I live in a world of action, and you know what action is? Physical force. He was afraid I was gonna attack him. Now, I'm not a violent man, but because I embarrassed him, because I destroyed his worldview so brutally, he was left in a state of childlike fear.
It sounds like it was because you stood up abruptly and aggressively.
He was left in a state where he was sitting there feeling
Like, if you're in a small room with someone, I don't know where they were, but like most therapy offices are much smaller than the room I'm in right now. Like, most therapy offices are like sometimes half the size of this room, honestly. Therapy destroyed by action and money. Like, seriously, therapy offices are small, y'all. And like, when you get trained as a therapist, you learn how to deal with potentially aggressive clients. And like, if his tone was anything like it is in this video, that would be someone I would be worried if they stood up abruptly. I would interpret it aggressively, yeah.
So when I stood up and he saw my pure physical prowess, he shat himself. A vulnerable man.
Yeah, he was probably checking out your physique, Cobra, rather than worried about, your posture indicating aggression.
In a vulnerable state with supreme force moving quickly in front of him. Of course he dropped his pen. What else is he gonna do? Sitting there having a chit chat and writing things down is inaction. Therapists live in a world of inaction. I live in a world of action. And as I said at the beginning,
Yeah, again, just to be clear, because it is worth saying, if you want to, obviously therapy is talking. It's a conversation. There's other forms of therapy, but I'm obviously talking about talk therapy. That's what I do. That's what it sounds like his experience is with, even though it's only been on reality shows and one time with each person. But even if you granted that like talking is just talking, because of course, talking is just talking. It's not doing things other than talking. It is a thing, but it's limited. You can only do so much talking. I don't think most of the progress that comes from therapy is in the room of therapy. It's often what's said in that room and how that resonates in the brain of the person going to therapy and how that helps them actually change what they do. I am always, in every single appointment, talking with people about real things in their day-to-day life and how they approach them and how they think and feel about them so that they can think and feel more how they want to and do the things in their life to think and feel more how they want to. So, I mean, everybody knows this, but it's worth explaining.
action always trumps inaction. My final point on therapy
Oh my God, is he angrier?
is as follows.
So none of his points have supported the idea that therapy ruins you. Seriously. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. He literally hasn't even addressed the idea that his main thesis has not been addressed.
Is detrimental.
Oh,
Not only is it
okay, here we go.
useless, not only is it not science, not only is it bullshit, it actually makes people worse. The worst thing you can do if you have a problem is sit and fucking talk about it all day. People say you shouldn't bury your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit.
This is the segment he used in the beginning for the introduction. He thought it was really good. when he strawmans someone by doing a funny voice and then doesn't even understand what the argument is.
Actually makes people worse. The worst thing you can do if you have a problem is sit and fucking talk about it all day.
So true.
People say you shouldn't bury your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit.
If you repress them, then they say something, something bad. I don't know. I've never listened. Okay, I've never actually listened to what they say, but something about how it's bad to repress. I'm just going to do a funny voice. Just to be clear, sitting and talking about your problems all day would be probably a bad idea. Yeah, I'm glad that therapy is just 1 hour or a week or two. Because, you don't need to sit and talk all day about your problems.
World War II, how many people died? Did everyone sit around and fucking go, oh, we don't have time to rebuild?
That was a bad cut. And what the fuck is he talking about now?
Worse. The worst thing you can do if you have a problem is sit and fucking talk about it all day. People say you shouldn't bury your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit. World War II.
What? That wasn't even the edit. It's like a bad edit, but before the bad edit, how is that non sequitur? How does he connect these things?
Your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit.
World War II.
How many people died? Did everyone sit around?
And then that was a really bad cut, like genuinely an editing mistake. You can hear the audio.
That's bullshit.
That's how you know he totally lost the thread here and he had to... we got to watch that World War II thing one more time.
Press them, that's bullshit.
World War II.
How many people died? Did everyone sit around and fucking go, oh, we don't have time to rebuild?
Wait, I want to hear the bad cut.
Two, how many people died? Did everyone sit around and fucking go, oh, we don't have time to rebuild all the cities and create the NHS. We need to sit and fucking talk about all the bad things that's happened.
So he just disproved his own point. Because therapy did exist back then. It was not as popular as it is now, but people were going to therapy in the time of World War II. And so by saying what he's saying, he's proving that, as the politicians say, you can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Happened. Every single person has a horror story, from Russia to Germany through France, England, America, the Japanese, the Philippines. Everyone has something bad to say. So let's somehow clone the entire population of Earth so we have enough fucking therapists and sit there and talk all day instead of getting shit done. Bullshit.
What? So the straw man now is the argument that we need to prioritize going to therapy over rebuilding from world wars. That's the argument he's destroying right now? Man, I guess when you are at this level of sort of like capability, the arguments you take on have to be at a similar level.
People shut up and they got shit done. There's nothing wrong with fucking having some...
No. My point, Cobra, is that people got shit done whether or not they shut up.
Something bad happened to you, internalizing it the best you can, maybe speaking about it with someone close to you, but in general, just shutting the fuck up and getting on with it. Therapy is detrimental. And I'll tell you... He wasn't even addressing the point that therapy is detrimental. This is why I was trying to be very clear from the beginning that I'm not defending therapy. I'm just picking apart his arguments. Therapy does not need to be defended. Certainly not from these arguments. Therapy should be criticized. Well, it should be criticized well. Not just in this incoherent way. So he was just speaking to the point that acting on things by rebuilding after World War is better than going to therapy, which is what we call a false dichotomy, because as I was saying, you can do both, and people did do both. That has nothing to do with the idea that therapy is detrimental. The fact that it should not be prioritized over rebuilding from World War is not an argument that it's detrimental. So I really hope we're getting to that, because we only have 3.5 minutes left in the video, and I'm not saying he hasn't made a good argument for therapy being detrimental. I don't know that he's made an argument yet. I don't know that he's addressed the question of how therapy is detrimental. His whole point that it is itself inaction, for him to say, okay, hold on, I'm going to me for this. In the logical universe, in the extended universe of Cobra Tate, inaction is bad and action is good. Whatever. Therapy is inaction. Whatever. I'll grant it for the sake of argument.
So he would have to prove, yeah, come on, he would have to prove that therapy is not only itself inaction, but it leads to more inaction. He would have to say that you are unable to do the actions you want because you're doing that inaction at therapy. But not only is that obviously not true, and as I said, not even argued for, but like he doesn't address it, it's really obviously the opposite. And I guess now I am defending therapy a little bit if I'm being totally honest, but yeah, it can help you figure out how to take the action in your life that you want to. And anyone who watches Cobra Tate, I just hope you realize that you are smart enough to poke through his argument. I know people who have listened to, not this guy, but similar shitty people, and people can figure it out. People can learn eventually, yeah, these arguments don't make sense. And I want to empower Cobra Tate's viewers to say, you know what? Why doesn't he ever address the question of whether therapy can help me take action in my life rather than making me not active? I mean, why doesn't he even respect me enough as a viewer to address the question of whether therapy can actually help people act in ways they want to act? Interesting that he doesn't even understand the issues enough to even address that question.
I'll tell you why. I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you once and for all.
Honestly, Cobra, you don't have to prove it. I'm not joking. Just try to make an argument. Try to actually support, like, with a symmetrical argument that leads to your conclusion. From a premise to a conclusion. You don't have to prove it. You just have to make an argument to provide any likelihood of convincing me. I like that he doesn't edit out the sips. He clearly edits the videos. We saw some bad cuts. There are good cuts. But he doesn't edit out the power sips.
But in general, just...
And I like how long he's hovering with the cup there. How long is he hovering with the cup? He's like wanting to take a sip, but he can't find a good time.
People died. Did everyone sit around and fucking go, oh, we don't have time to rebuild?
Oh, okay, I gotta watch it one more time. Hold on.
So you shouldn't bury your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit.
World War II.
How many people died? Did everyone sit around and fucking go, oh, we don't have time to rebuild all the cities and create the NHS. We need to sit and fucking talk about all the bad things that's happened. Every single person has a horror story, from Russia to Germany through France, England, America, the Japanese, the Philippines.
They didn't go to therapy and they were all fine. They were all fine. There's no such thing as PTSD. It's not something that we learned about primarily after the war and basically because of wars. That's not how we discovered that people become so fucking traumatized that they can't even be around loud noises for years.
Russia to Germany through France, England, America, the Japanese, the Philippines. Everyone has something bad to say. So let's somehow clone the entire population of Earth.
Right, because this is this is what would need to have been done.
So we have enough fucking therapists and sit there and talk all day instead of getting shit done. Bullshit. People shut up and they got shit done. There's nothing wrong with fucking having some...
Yeah, he really doesn't sound British most of the time. So when it comes back to being British, it's surprising.
So we have enough fucking therapists and sit...
That sounded so American. I'm sorry, that's not a fucking British accent.
So let's somehow clone the entire population...
Population, he said in a British way, and the rest of the sentence not.
...of Earth. So we have enough fucking therapists...
So we have enough fucking therapists. I don't know. That sounds American to me.
...and sit there and talk all day instead of getting shit done. Bullshit. People shut up and they got shit done. There's nothing wrong...
And then you hear the British come back. People shut up and they got shit done.
...with fucking having something bad happen to you, internalizing it the best you can.
That sounded so American.
Maybe...
Wait, what? Okay, so now we're getting to his solutions, internalizing it. What does that mean, Cobra? What does it mean to internalize it? Do you know what that means, Cobra? What does that mean to you, to internalize it?
...and sit there and talk all day instead of getting shit done. Bullshit. People shut up and they got shit done. There's nothing wrong with fucking having something bad happen to you, internalizing it the best you can, maybe speaking about it with someone close to you, but in general, just shutting the fuck up and getting on with it.
So he is unhappy that other people go to therapy. Because when he talks about what's healthy, dealing with bad stuff as best you can, internalizing it, I don't know what he means by that. But dealing with bad stuff as best you can, maybe talking to someone close to you, as he says, that's, of course, the goal. And so why should you not also go to a professional? He does not make any coherent, symmetrical argument. At Hustlers University, it's how to make money, I guess.
I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you once and for all. Robin Williams is my test case.
He even swallows forcefully.
Robin Williams is my test case.
Oh my God, he's gonna weaponize another person's fucking suffering?
So, I often say depression isn't real.
I hope he doesn't call this person a bitch like he did the last person.
If you don't know that about me, you can watch my video on Tate.
Depression isn't real. That's not even a coherent statement. Okay, like, is happiness real? Like, what does it mean for something to be real? Your only experience with therapy is from reality shows.
Speech about my mind tricks on how to beat depression. Depression is a state of mind.
So you just said it's not real, and then you just said it's a state of mind. So are states of mind not real, Cobra?
And with an iron mind, you can destroy it.
With an iron mind, you can destroy it.
I teach people how to do this.
Yeah, that must be very good for you.
But Robin Williams is the case people often come at me and say, well, if depression isn't real, why did Robin Williams kill himself?
People often say that to you? You get that often? Obviously, people don't say that to him a lot. He just doesn't know how to frame his argument, so he says weird non sequiturs like that.
And that's a pretty good argument. I mean, Robin Williams was famous. He was a millionaire. He didn't have to grow old gracefully. He could have had 19-year-old girlfriends for the rest of his life and drove Lamborghinis and bungee.
Wow, self-report there. Not everybody wants a romantic partner who's at a completely different developmental stage than them, Cobra. Maybe if you're at a 19-year-old's emotional development stage your whole life, maybe you want to date someone that young.
He jumped and do whatever the fuck he wanted. He was liked by everyone. No one disliked him. No negative attention, no negative media, nothing. So why does Robin Williams kill himself? Well, I'll tell you why. Therapy is why. Robin Williams did 12 years of therapy. For 12 years, not only was he...
Hi, I'm Cobra Tate. I don't understand how causation works. I don't really understand the difference between one thing happening before another and one thing causing the other thing. That's not something I bother myself with. I don't know about it. It hurts my bald little head when I think about it. So I just sort of, when I say something causes something, I just sort of wing it. And I put on a big white shirt and I hope people don't call me out.
Is why. Robin Williams did 12 years of therapy. For 12 years, not only was he taking mind-altering antidepressant drugs, which is a video in and of itself, why I'll never do antidepressants.
Yeah, I'm sure you have really solid arguments there too. I'm sure you've looked at the research.
But on top of that, every single day he's sitting there.
I'm sure he's looked at the scientific research about depression, right? And medication, since he loves science.
With a fucking therapist. If you sit in front of someone
I just want to point out, he's said fucking therapist many of the times he says therapist.
Every single day he's sitting there with a fucking therapist.
It was every day? That's not a great idea. I don't think that's healthy to go to therapy every day. Unless you're in a crisis situation for a very brief amount of time.
If you sit in front of someone all day, every day, and talk about all...
Oh, so now it's not just every day. Now it's all day, every day. Wow. Holy crap, man.
The bad things that have ever happened to you all day, every day, you're gonna feel pissed off. Even
wow, he even knows like what they were talking about.
I want to jump off a fucking bridge. If I spent 12 years talking to some dickhead about all the bad things that's happened in my life.
Wow, he knows a lot about Robin Williams without any evidence.
It's detrimental. Sitting there crying about bad things is never gonna help you.
Oh my gosh, yo, this guy's the least logical fucking alpha male I've ever seen. Like, he actually doesn't respect his audience or himself enough to perceive that his argument is claiming Robin Williams went to therapy for 12 years and committed suicide. Therefore, therapy is detrimental. He knows the frequency that Robin Williams went to therapy, And the amount, it was all day, every day. And he knows that he spent it talking about the bad things in his life, not like trying to get sober or figuring out how to like have healthier relationships. So Robin Williams' suicide is now being used as proof that therapy is detrimental with absolutely no evidence other than the fact that Robin Williams went to therapy for 12 years. Do we know that he went to therapy all day, every day for 12 years, Cobra? Or did you just kind of...
If you're the kind of person who feels like they need therapy, you need someone to talk to make me feel better. Do you know what you are?
He always does funny voices.
Feels like they need therapy. You need someone to talk to make me feel better. Do you know what you are? You're useless. Because in the harshest realities of this cold world, there are people in Syria whose entire families have been blown to fuck.
Bro, there are people in the UK who are like suffering. You don't have to weirdly bring up Syria. And people are useless because the world is harsh. So if they want to talk to someone about their problems, ergo de facto, they're useless.
With a bomb from the sky, who are still getting up every day, making fucking bread and selling it on the streets so they have enough money to buy a new pair of sandals sometime next year.
And the argument is, what, Cobra? That they do that without therapy, so that's good?
Well, you're crying about fucking nothing with your first world bullshit to some dickhead therapist who
How does he know his whole audience is in first world?
He does coke on the weekends.
The therapist does coke on the weekends? Is he saying that because like the Freud doing coke stuff? Nah, that's just a coincidence, right? So he thinks if someone does drugs on the weekends, they are not good at their job? Should I crack a beer to that?
Dickhead therapist who probably does coke on the weekends. Another thing
And that's the end of the thought.
Therapists do, you'll notice. They talk in riddles. They speak in riddles. Well, why do you think that is? The reason
His first example of talking in riddles is saying, why do you think that is? Because he doesn't understand causation. Holy shit, I figured it out. That's how it all connects. He genuinely doesn't understand causation. It's like in my Michael Scott video. I want to eventually do a whole video all about causation and mental health, because there is so much there. I just have to get my ideas in order. But here we see so much of this whole rant has been not understanding causation enough to make a coherent argument. So saying that therapy is detrimental for reasons that do not support that conclusion and barely even connect to each other. And here we see his first example of someone talking in riddles being someone saying, why do you think that is? You know, I talk about sleep with my clients a fair bit because it's a very healthy part of our life. And so if people are having sleep issues, that's something they often talk about with a therapist, how to get better sleep. If someone said, I can't get myself to go to sleep before 1 a.m., or say, yeah, and I say, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it is that you can't get yourself to... They might say, well, I feel like I'm really unfulfilled in my day-to-day and I'm working on my grind, I'm working a job that sucks, and so I just keep pushing it in the evening to try to get the most I can out of like that small amount of free time I have in my life, because I just feel like I'm working to live and I really just need that time to stay up and like enjoy myself and like experience just some small sense of freedom in just like indulging whatever I want to do. Sorry, that got a little too real. And you might say, you know, are there ways to try to get more freedom throughout the day? More of that space that you're looking for to do what you want in small bursts throughout the day, so maybe it doesn't have to affect the sleep so much? So yeah, Cobra, understanding why something is, or even why someone thinks it is, can actually be pretty helpful when you're trying to figure out how to make things different than how they are.
The reason they speak in riddles is because they don't tell you anything. They ask.
So, I'm sorry, that wasn't even just his first example? That was his only example of speaking in riddles? That was his only example of speaking in riddles.
Therapists do, you'll notice. They talk in riddles. They speak in riddles. Well, why do you think that is? The reason they speak in riddles...
That's his one example of speaking in riddles, is saying, why do you think that is? Wow, that is such a self-report. Like, there are definitely therapists who, like, are not always good at communicating. Like, one way a therapist could be a bad therapist is by speaking in riddles. A good example of that would be like, you need to process your experience through the feelings and emotion that originate in the deepest recesses of the psyche. You know, something like that. But his example of someone speaking in riddles is someone saying, why do you think that is?
They speak in riddles. Well, why do you think that is? The reason they speak in riddles is because they don't tell you anything. They ask you questions. Because if they ask you questions, they can never be wrong.
That's not true. You can ask bad questions. Questions have assumptions built into them that inform them as a question. So if someone's having a lot of fights with their boyfriend or something, and I say, why haven't you broken up with him yet? That's a bad question. Unless they're like, I don't know why I haven't broken up with him yet. Then as a therapist, not because you don't want to be wrong, but because your job is to help people reflect, you might say, yeah, why haven't you broken up with him yet? You know, in the sense that when you realize as a therapist someone is getting towards something and might need a question to help, you're always trying to ask questions to help people get to where they want to get, to reflect in the ways they want to and need to be able to think and feel the ways they need to think and feel.
If they tell you things, they're wrong. If you sit there and go X, Y, Z, and they go, oh, that's because...
A therapist should absolutely be making statements sometimes. I mean, questions are by no means the entirety of what a therapist is doing. You explain stuff about depression. You explain stuff about trauma, about stress, anxiety, how we respond to uncertainty. Yeah, your therapist should be able to explain to you why their treatment plan is going to help you. Point blank, not with any questions.
Because of X, Y, Z, then you can say, no, it's not. Fucking moron, I'm out of here. But if you go X, Y, Z, and they go, and how do you think X is related
He actually thinks that he's making a good point here.
to Y? Then you talk for another 20 minutes. That's another hour burned. Burn that time up. Keep paying the fucking bills. They don't say anything of relevance or anything of merit because they can be used against them. They don't want anything used against them.
He's projecting. He's afraid of people using things against him that he says, so he thinks therapists are afraid of that. I mean, or he's just critiquing the bottom of the barrel, and that's really irresponsible.
Of relevance or anything of merit because they can be used against them. They don't want anything used against them. They just want you to fucking sit and chat shit. It's garbage.
Oh, that was not a very strong ending, buddy. You look down at your lap, and that's how you end the video?
I want you to fucking sit and chat shit. It's garbage.
Ooh, God. I would get a new editor, Cobra. Oh my God, how long is this? How long is this? Oh, he looks so sad. Oh, that is not the face of a happy man. What app is that? I guess it's probably not that hard to be a millionaire when you're a 4-time kickboxing world champion, if he was being honest about that. If he even is a millionaire, I don't know. I mean, having $1 million is great, like good. If you're world champion of a sport, I would sort of expect that you have $1 million. I haven't looked at this guy's tax returns. I don't know, but I want to see if there's like a cutscene at the end. He's like, actually, I was just joking the whole time. I'm sorry. I just noticed I achieve He's selling people on achieving competency. Bro, do you know how words work? Like, competency is not that great. I mean, you would think he would be selling like success with money, women, and fitness. Or like some other word, like achieve mastery of money, women, and fitness. But achieve competency with money, women, and fitness is just very strange. Okay, so what did we learn? At the end of the day, I'll just say therapy should be criticized. Everything basically should be criticized. And critiqued is probably a better word for what I mean, because it's not about tearing things down, but everything should be critiqued, like I've critiqued this video. But when you critique something and when you try to say that something is bad, you're gonna inherently have to be making causal arguments. He's saying therapy ruins you, meaning it causes you irreparable damage. Then you have to explain how that works. He's basically saying you're marinating yourself in bad stuff by not just shoving it down, you're letting it be in your environment. And that actually causes it to resonate with you. I'm steel manning his argument here. But he's saying talking about the stuff like brings the bad stuff into your environment, and the person who's helping you do it is not qualified to, and they're incentivized to not help you. But all these things require some evidence. First, we get evidence of a woman going through trauma of a plane crash and not going to therapy. What did he see an interview once and this stuck with him? Like, what a weird specific thing, man. You remember that she said in an interview that she didn't go to therapy because they didn't have it back then. To me, that sort of implies that she would have liked to go if they did. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't imply that, but it could. It doesn't imply for sure that she didn't want to go to therapy. So we're supposed to take one person going through trauma and not going to therapy as evidence that therapy has a detrimental effect. He spends so much of the video just proving that it is possible to not make therapy your first priority. But the way he paints going to therapy is by using language as an all day, every day. If he really tried to face what he's talking about, he would have to say, therapy is not worth spending 1 hour every week or two doing. And look, people, if they want to argue that, they could argue that, but that's what he would have to argue. He would have to say therapy is not worth doing even for 1 hour. If you spend 1 hour of every 2 weeks talking to someone about problems that you're trying to work on, you will be ruined. It would be really funny to see some like alternate universe version of that video that's just not angry, where he's just like calmly making horrible arguments, because you realize he needs the anger to sell it. It's none of the points land, so it's really the emotion that resonates with his audience. But it doesn't resonate with me, and I hope I've explained why.